Up next is the story of a passionate entrepreneur. In conversation in this fireside chat, we have Vivek Verma once again, the founder of Upsurge Global and senior advisor at Telangana State Innovation Center, and he will be in conversation with Sheila Murthy. She's a lawyer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, perhaps best known as founder and president of Owings Mills, Maryland based Murthy Law Firm, which has been ranked as one of the world's leading US immigration law firms. So, Sheila, welcome to the forum. And Mr. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you very much, Akriti, for the wonderful words, and uh, wonderful to see you once again, Sheila. And I'm sure, just like the other people who are listening to us, I am going to enjoy the conversation with you over the next 30 minutes and learn a lot from the pearls of wisdom we'll get from you. But before that, just to add to what Akriti spoke about I just want to add, for the benefit of our audience, a little bit more about you. So after Sheila's education at Harvard, she actually started practice a while ago, and worked in a major law firm in New York City. And in May 1994, she left her employment to start the immigration law firm, the law office of Sheila Murthy. And then it went on. In 1999, she became very actively involved with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, or ILA, and has then taken several leadership positions in that organization over the last few years. In 2001, she and her husband started the Murthy Nayak Foundation to channel their financial resources into socially transformative projects designed to improve the lives of women, children, immigrants in India and the US. She is today going to be talking to us about entrepreneurship as a whole, but I'm actually going to use this conversation in the backdrop of a book that she recently published, which is called Being Sheila. The whole life journey of the immigration lawyer and aspiring and established entrepreneurs can get a whole lot of inspiration and motivation by reading this book, as I did, and get extremely interesting life journeys or life learnings from the journey of Sheila Murthy. As an entrepreneur, along with establishing one of the largest leading US immigration firm, she has also built a reputation for being a successful professional philanthropist, immigrant, and a woman of color. So let's start the conversation with Sheila. And like I said, Sheila, I'm going to use the backdrop of your book to quote some things, but essentially take some lessons from what you have kind of worked over the last few years. So
Sounds
first
good.
question.
Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much,
that
Sheila.
introduction. And just to clarify, the book was in fact published by HarperCollins very, very recently. It's just been released.
Fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of people will want to get their hands on the book after we have this conversation today, and enjoy what you've written there.
And it's
So
a
the first,
biography. It's a biography based on a series of interviews. I was starting to work on the autobiography memoir, which, of course, being a speaker and a talker more than a writer, it never took off. So the biographer got involved to help make the project happen.
fantastic. So let's start with the book, Sheila. So what is with the timing of the book? What prompted you now? You've been doing this work for 25 years. So why now?
Well, so the law firm celebrated its 25th anniversary last year in May of 2019. And so we discussed and decided that, you know what, it's a beautiful time frame, a quarter of a century of devoting my life with my dream, my vision, my entrepreneurial journey, how to, motivate and get your team to buy into the vision and mission, and just share some beautiful stories of lives that we have been so blessed and fortunate to have had the opportunity to impact in deep and meaningful ways.
Fantastic. And I think, it will serve in the current scheme of things all around us in the world. I'm sure it'll serve a phenomenal purpose to inspire many people, because, when you talk about difficulties, what you would have faced, and I think all of us are facing difficulty that none of us ever imagined if anyone was asked a year ago. So I'm sure there will be lots of learnings we will all get from the book as we can get our hands on it. But if I was to move from there to look at getting some practical advice for entrepreneurs, because a lot of time people tend to attribute success to luck. Sometimes they even rationalize that it's all about luck. But you have in your book throughout talked about that how you seize chances, moot court, meeting the chief ministers, various examples you have talked about within your book where you constantly make things happen and you pave the way for further success. So, what is your whole view on this luck versus making things happen?
Sure. Well, I think it's also culturally different. I think Indians talk about luck more than in America. America, it's you grab the bull by the horn and sort of run with it, charge with it, right? And so, I mean, to some extent, there's an element of luck in the family we are born in, or of course, in India, we use the word karma. But to me, that's the accident of birth, luck, karma, whatever, but it's something we don't consciously control. But anything on earth that I can consciously control, I try to take control of it. If I'm an opportunist in the sense, in a positive way, that if something happens, I am going to use that opportunity. So as soon as I heard about the moot court competitions in law school, I decided, of course, I was going to participate. And the first year I went, within 2 weeks later, when we were doing the competition, when I came third All India, I said, without even knowing what this means, if I could come third All India, for sure next year I'm coming first All India, without a doubt. So again, it was the determination, and then, trying to get the funding, and then proceeding with, trying to push to get admission to Harvard Law School. And then, of course, working in the major law firms, starting my own law firm. For me, it's all been a very conscious effort. But of course, I've had people who have loved me, protected me, helped me, guided me, mentored me, and been there, because none of us stands alone. We all stand tall on the shoulders of others.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed to have, of course, my husband Vasan Nayak, good friends, family, and my team at the Murthy Law Firm, who's really been part of the reason for our success.
Fantastic. And I think that's an important lesson for all of us to learn, so while we may continue to have this conversation about karma, luck, but I think, like you rightly said, it is about taking the opportunities. It is about seizing that and saying that I will do what I need to do and make a difference. And I think you have demonstrated that in your life, and you've articulated that beautifully in the book. Now, continuing with that, I think you also talk about in a week in 1998, 4 years into your firm, when 3 out of the 4 paralegals you had, they all quit all at once. And in some of the interviews, you actually then talked about that this incident actually made you eat humble pie and introspect. So I would like to kind of reflect on that and then share with us what should the entrepreneurs do when they need to really introspect early and self-correct, so that they are not really stressing out team members to the point of making them quit. So they're just too busy. What would you say from your experience going back to 1998 as an advice to entrepreneurs?
So I think what makes us good entrepreneurs, every single person who's listening to this is either a member of TIE DC, TIE Global, different chapters, IT Serve, you're all technology owners and entrepreneurs. What makes you so good in your work is your ability to have a goal or a vision and to go after it almost like a missile. Now, that same quality that can make you very good at starting and taking off and doing things can be like the kiss of death when it comes to dealing with touchy-feely things like emotions or employees or their problems or their situation. And so here I was working, 10, 15, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And if someone was like, I'm having a problem or I can't do this, I would be like, what's your problem? Roll up your sleeves, get onto the jump on the bandwagon, and let's, serve our clients, do the work. So the focus on the goal is very good and very important to start a venture. But if you know you are not touchy-feely and have some of those qualities, then hire those in your team. Whether it's an HR person, whether it's your spouse, whether it's friends, whether it's your other members of your leadership team who are more caring and touchy and feely, who will be there for employees to listen to. And so, yes, when in the first couple of years of my starting my law firm, it was shocking because I thought everybody would obviously buy into my vision and my dream of helping people, of changing lives, of making their American dream come true in this great nation on earth, the United States of America. But I had failed in 2 ways. One was fail to share the vision and mission with each new employee that joined the firm so that I could get their 100% buy in, so that they could see the purpose and the passion of the work. Why am I getting up and coming to work every morning? If we don't share it, it's the fault is ours, not the employee's fault. And second, to actually be a human being. We're not machines. What makes us good entrepreneurs, creative and goal oriented and successful, is we don't make excuses. We just go after the goal. But that same quality can be a very, very big minus point for us. So having around us people that balance us and can give us that focus, I think is very critical for the long-term stability and success and growth of the organization.
Thank you very much for sharing that, and that takes courage to be vulnerable and to share, that these are lessons you learned and you learned them the hard way. And I'm sure some of us can listen to this and hopefully learn and maybe not make the same mistakes. And I think balance, like you rightly said, is a very, very important aspect to bring. Sometimes you can do it yourself, and if you can't, then bring that externally through team and all of that. You also talk about in your book, Sheila, that the only regret in your life you had was that you did not get the time to spend enough time with your father, as you were frequently traveling and you would have liked a lot more, but you never got that chance. How does one learn to live without regrets? And I'm sure that thought would keep coming back to you, and there are lots of theories that keep roaming around in our minds. So how do you deal with this whole thing about regret, not letting that impact your decisions for future? And what can entrepreneurs learn from that? Yeah.
Sure. Look, all of us have made mistakes. And the way I look at it is every mistake is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn, to grow, to become stronger, and hopefully not make that exact same mistake again. Because if we don't learn from our failures and our mistakes, then there's no other better teaching tool on the face of this earth. With respect to regrets, I think regret is a strong word, Vivek. I would say, sometimes you wish or you hope, could I have, should I have, would I have spent more time? But I also know that if I'd spent more time, my father himself would often say, after a couple of weeks, each person gets back into our own rhythm of life. He likes to go play. He used to love to go and play his rummy and have, his scotch in the evening with his friends. And if I'm there, then he would feel that he has to be around just to be with me because I'm coming from all the way from America to India. So sometimes even the last visit when I saw him, and I was there 2 months before he passed away, when I just went to visit and spend a couple of weeks. He said to me, even if you stay with me 6 months, Sheila, 1 week before you leave, I'm going to start feeling sad. So it doesn't matter. You have to live your life. Whatever time we spend with each other is wonderful and valuable and meaningful. And so do I have regrets? I don't have regrets, because if I had a regret, then that is my spiritual energy that I'm wasting rather than using it to empower and uplift me to learn. I am letting it deplete me. We can never let any experience in our life deplete us. Every knock in life, every failure, every knock in our life, every wrong thing that happens to us is an incredible opportunity for us to learn, grow, become stronger and better as human beings and as business owners, as entrepreneurs, and just as spiritual beings. I know it's often been said that human beings are not just we're not just human beings. We're not just we're not just human beings going through a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings going through the human experience. And so every opportunity, every relationship, whether it is our parents, our children, our siblings, they're all people who are there to help evolve our souls and make us better as human beings. Even the world's best entrepreneur, billionaires, multi-billionaires, the world's richest person, if your soul and in your heart, you're not content and happy, all of that is like tinsel, it's paper, it's meaningless.
I couldn't agree more with you. As long as you kind of learn and move forward, I think that's the key, rather than regret that and kind of let that impact the way you look at it. Coming to another aspect, though things are changing now over the last few weeks, but you did talk about the unequivocal view that you had about the current or the passing old administration and the impact it's had on immigration and how the policies have been interpreted. So with the new change that is happening, recently Joe Biden in one of his speech said America is back What does this mean for the whole US immigration? What damage has been done? How is that going to change in the coming days?
So I tell people all the time, irrespective of the political party or which person you may have voted for in the United States of America, the fact is that the last 4 years from 2017 through, January 2017 through January 2021 has been a really difficult and rough time for immigrants and for immigration in the United States. However, as we just spoke a minute ago, Vivek, all opportunities and challenges and failures are great opportunities to learn, grow, and become stronger and better. And so with Biden, one of the points that Biden made, even when he was standing for elections and then won both the elections and the Electoral College at this point, was his statement that I am going to reverse all of the anti-immigration policies that have been set up. I am going to bring America back. I'm going to recognize the importance of business and business immigration, employment, and families being together. In fact, the person he has selected, Alexandro Mayorkas, was the head of the USCIS in the Obama administration. He himself is an immigrant actually from Cuba. He's the first Latino and the first immigrant to become the head of the US Department of Homeland Security, which is the largest agency in the US federal government with 22, 23 agencies within the US Department of Homeland Security. So we're very excited because we see hope. We see hope for immigrants. We see hope for immigration. We see hope for entrepreneurs and business people. We see hope and opportunities for companies that are hiring foreign nationals, not because we are doing something to help immigrants against Americans. In fact, the exact opposite. Research has shown over and over and over again that each H-1B actually helps to create more jobs for Americans. Each H-1 hiring an H-1B can actually improve the US economy. Even the H-4 EAD issue, it's so important because any disadvantage was so minuscule in comparison to the huge benefit and the number of job creation, and especially because there is still a huge vacuum, if you will, of a shortage of skilled workers in STEM fields, the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. And until and unless we either have enough in the United States, we will have to rely on foreign workers. And even Alan Greenspan, way back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, said immigration is the one pill that is going to solve America's problem with respect to shortage of skilled workers. And we keep investing more and more. The Department of Labor invests more to encourage people to join STEM fields, but the demand far outpaces the supply. And it's proof because look at it, majority of the people that are listening right now are probably engineers. And you are in high demand. You are the brains behind the country. And I often talk about how, my father was an engineer also, that one of his disappointments was the fact that, he always wanted his children, of course, like 9 out of 10 parents, especially 35 years ago, your child has to be a doctor or an engineer, right? Right. I understand it's the same even today after 35 years. And when I said, I'm going to fight for justice, the rights of underprivileged, for the downtrodden, for the poorest of the poor. I will give a voice to the poorest person, to the person who's too meek to speak. His answer always was like, oh, why do you have to do it? Let somebody else do that. You become a doctor or an engineer like your two sisters are doing. You should do this. You should. Yeah. And finally, I think out of sheer exasperation, he gave up. And then when I got into Harvard and then, of course, started my firm and became known nationally and internationally, he said, it was my ignorance and my foolishness that I didn't think that anybody could survive and make a good living and be happy and find their passion and their purpose in life by doing what they love to do and making such an impact. And I said, no, I know you did it because you loved me, Dad. You didn't do it because you wanted to prevent me from living my dream. Okay. So I think for all of you who are parents out there, don't fall into the typical tunnel vision of forcing your child to do what you want them to do, but let the child blossom into where the true potential of the child lies, because that will make that person a world leader in what they do, because they have a deep-rooted desire to change and improve the world.
Passion, connect, I think that's where it'll make a phenomenal difference. That brings me to an interesting point. While I know you wanted to pursue and you did, but if I was to ask you that if you were not to be a lawyer, what would have been the choice for a profession for you? And I think you have, through the book, talked about the ability for you to be able to read people, and with the whole empathetic knowledge therapist. What would you have been if you were not a lawyer?
Actually, I was thinking about that. I've been thinking about that. If I was not a lawyer, I don't know if I would be so happy, but let's assume I think I would have enjoyed being a therapist of some kind, psychologist, because I do watch a lot of psychology shows and, opportunities, because I feel that the mind needs a lot of healing, and most of us focus a lot on the body. And so while my two sisters are medical doctors taking care of the body, to me, the mind is much deeper, more deep rooted, and the problems of the mind are not as visible by checking an equipment. But if you can give peace of mind, solace, meaning, purpose, passion to people, then it is like a dead flower that suddenly blooms, and like a gorgeous rose sheds, light, color, smell, everything. Each of us, to some extent, if we don't find our passion and our purpose in our life, we are never going to be able to give 100% of our soul and our heart to our work and to the work that we're doing with 100% dedication, and bring along others, because your passion, your excitement, your interest can be shared, and it's become so self-evident to everybody who works around us.
What journey it would have been if you did become a therapist, and we were making an impact to people in a different manner. And I'd like to kind of think and imagine sitting in a session with you, and you spreading the energy in addition to your ability to be able to read people's mind and kind of advise them. It would have been a very, very different arena. But
I'm not sure, Vivek, and I'll tell you why. Every
why?
time I do a consultation with a client, and we do thousands and thousands of them, obviously,
Correct.
I always, before or after or in the middle, tell them, okay, now we have done the consultation. I have given you the legal advice, what you paid, we have discussed it. Let me give you a small piece of advice for your life. Sometimes, it's about situation with their family, and I say, look, I am talking to you not as your lawyer at this moment, but I am talking to you as a well-wisher, as a friend, as an aunt, as a cousin, as a child, as a, whatever, because I care about you. Even when I give advice to clients, I don't give it just based on the law. Of course, we look at the law. Of course, we look at the facts. Of course, I look at my knowledge, my experience, my 30 years plus as a lawyer, etc. But I also tell them that the reason, I think part of the reason Murthy.com is so well known and the Murthy law firm is internationally renowned is not just technical legal advice. Now with artificial intelligence and with the internet, advice and information can be obtained quite easily and freely to a large extent. It's the wisdom, it's the knowledge, it's the distillation of pearls of information and wisdom. And people, when they know that you're connecting with another human being on a spiritual, on a deeper level of care, love, and compassion and concern, I think people, it's at the end of the day, life is all about connecting with human beings on a deeper level. Superficial relationships are superficial for a reason. And I think when people know that we care, I always tell my employees, right, from the client's perspective, I don't care how much you know unless I know how much you care. Why do we love our parents? Not because they're Einsteins or geniuses, but because we know they love us and care about us. Similarly, with every single client, even if they hire me for 20 minutes consultation or their case or for their family members, we have to focus on the love, care, and compassion for that person, besides knowing the law and fighting on the legal issues and winning the case for them.
Fantastic. So essentially what you're saying is that, you are actually doing both the professions together. You're not just a lawyer, you're a therapist already. So for
Absolutely.
those of you who are looking to have a conversation with Sheila as a therapist, just disguise it as a legal query, because in any case, you're going to get some amount of therapy that you will get along with the legal advice that you will get. Which brings me to another aspect of you. You talked about this caring side of Sheila, but you've also been known to be a fighter, not just in the legal sense of it, that you are obviously, and as a lawyer, as an attorney, but it's also something that you do for your passion. And you have built your success, you've built the institution with the amount of zeal and energy. But for a minute, let's understand about the Sheila which is behind this, the if I may call it, the facade, which is the professional Sheila, the lawyer Sheila. But I get a sense that you have that fighting spirit. So can you talk to us a little about when did it start? When did you realize you had this fighting spirit? I'm sure it wasn't when you went to law school. It would have been much, much earlier.
Yeah, for sure. Even as a child, when I would walk on the roads, or if somebody would, in typical Indian style, some guy will say hello to a girl, hello, sweetheart. I would stop and say, how dare you talk like that to another person? What if it was your own mother or your sister? And I would go, and my sister and others, when I was like 10 or 12, they would say, why are you fighting with this guy who's not even worth your time or your energy, right? Don't waste your time on them. But I always feel it's important. It was important for me as a child, and still important, to give a voice to those who are either scared or shy or incapable or unwilling or unable to do so, and to be the voice for them, to speak up for them, to fight against injustice, to fight against what I think is unfairness, of oppression, of illegal behavior, of improper behavior. It's always been something, it's just in my DNA to want to help and be the voice for others. And I remember my high school principal from Timpani School in Vishakhapatnam, Vizag, Miss Mercy Jayaraj Rao, who was there for like 40 years. She said, oh my God, Sheila, I still remember you. You were such a fighter. And I said, oh, I was so she remembers me from, high school, being this person that would not take no for an answer. If you said no, I would try to argue, because I truly wanted to understand what it is that we can do to get a different result for a situation, whether it is for somebody else or myself. It's obviously much easier, I think, in life to fight for others than for yourself, because when you fight for yourself, it's more subjective. When you fight for others, you are the outside objective arbiter that is helping to give a voice and speak up for somebody who's incapable or unwilling to fight hard for their own rights, privileges, and their entitlements.
Fantastic. And I think that's where, you realize that early, and I think you've made such a grand success out of that, because you've used that energy, you've used that passion, and built a phenomenal firm. And 25 years, as you said, you've celebrated recently for Murthy Law Firm. You've touched so many lives. You've enabled so many successful foreign-born workers to contribute to the US economy. You've done so much in the space of philanthropy. Now, what's next? What can the world expect of Sheila in the next 25 years?
Oh my God, God willing, we're all alive for 25 years, which I hope we should be, right?
You should be.
Only
You should be.
like COVID-19.
With the energy you have, what are we talking about? Yeah.
That's so true. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I know I've had a lot of Americans say to me, whatever you're having, can you just put it into a bottle? You can make billions of dollars by selling this energy.
Okay.
But, again, it's because I love helping. I love educating. I love empowering. I love enlightening others with ideas and with passion and with, just different ways to look at it. So look, I love what I do. I am excited each day. I love going to work. I love helping people. I love making a difference. So even my husband, Vasant Nayak, who keeps asking me, what do you want to do, Sheila, when you retire? I'm like, look, if I love this, why can't I do it till I'm 125 years old? Why do you want me to think of something else? I think I'm going to continue doing this on some level. Of course, like a big portion of what the money we've made over the years, we have given away millions and millions of dollars. We intend to continue to give away millions and millions. God willing, we continue to make more and more money to great charitable causes, whether it's the couple of endowments at Harvard Law School for education, for immigration-related causes, for women, for empowerment, whatever we've done. I love giving away money because you feel a little bit like Santa Claus, like somebody that can change other people's lives and give them opportunities. And I think when we give to others through charitable giving, if you can afford 5 rupees or $5 million, it doesn't matter. The pleasure and the joy. There's actually research that shows that our body releases oxytocins, and endorphins when we are filled with joy to do help others and to do good for others. So that, why would I stop that? It gives me joy and meaning and again purpose in my life. Maybe I'll continue to do some of these keynotes talks where I inspire and motivate and excite people, again, because the idea of inspiring people is so important. To a large extent, the biography that was written, Being Sheila, The Life Journey of an Immigration Attorney, is really not about me, it's about my life, but it's more about living my life through the stories, the struggles, the challenges, and the success of my clients, of each of the thousands and thousands and thousands, and the countless of millions of people who have used Murthy.com to again get educated, enlightened, and inspired and empowered. So the book is really about sharing their stories and their struggles and them finding success at the end. So to me, that book is almost like a keynote talk. It is like a speech. It is like a sharing of the life, because it's not my life alone. My life is just as an example of the lives of so many people whose cases we were fortunate, privileged, and honored to be able to have helped them along life's journey and change their destinies, and not just of that one family, Vivek, but that family and generations of that family coming in the future for thousands, if not millions of years, right? And we have changed the course of destiny for that family, for the extended family when they send money back, maybe to their relatives in India or in different parts of the world. And we changed the face of America, because the beauty, the unique experiment of America as the only country in the world where different races and different people from all over the world have come in such a large number, is because I think part of the reason for America being a world leader is the openness to democracy, to creative new ideas, and to new influx of people bringing their passion, their excitement, their ideas, and keeping all the rest of us, when couple generations later, the same immigrants, their children become a little bit, I don't want to use the word lazy, but take things for granted maybe. And that immigrants never take anything for granted, because we're hungry and we're determined to make a difference and leave a legacy. And depending on how much time we have, I would love to share a short story, but if not, that's fine too.
No, you can go ahead. We have maybe another minute or two we have, so go ahead.
Yeah. So I always give this example of the people in the three, bricklayers doing the work, right? The first one, the lady says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Can't you see I'm just paving bricks?" The second person then says, "Well, I come into work on time, I leave on time, I tell my whatever my supervisor or foreman tells me to do, I do that." And the third person puts down his equipment for a minute, sparkle in his eyes, and he says, "Why, lady, can't you see? I'm helping to build one of the greatest cathedrals that was ever built in the history of human civilization. And I would have made a difference and helped people's prayers to come true for thousands and thousands of years." So all three were doing the exact same job, but one of them had found the purpose, the passion, the meaning. So who do you think was excited to do the work? Who do you think was influencing people around them? Who do you think probably got the highest raise and grew up and created and maybe started his own masonry company as a civil engineering concern in the future? Who do you think felt a certain excitement in life? And it's obviously the answer is self-evident, but it comes back to each of us in our lives just finding that passion and that purpose and that meaning. And so since the topic for today's discussion was the passionate entrepreneur, I thought I had to share the passion of that person and how each of us has to find it and share it, not just with our office staff, but even with our family members, your spouse and your children, because sometimes you think they know what's going on. But if you don't share it and tell them and share your joy and excitement, they're not going to know. And they'll be like, "Oh, there's mom or dad just always working." They don't understand why you're so excited to come to work every day.
Fantastic. And if I was to continue the same conversation, you know who the passionate entrepreneur here in this conversation is. Thank you very much, Sheila, for joining us and really sharing the passion. And you bring such a bundle of energy. And I'm sure that comes with extremely rich experience and knowledge. But the sheer energy you bring, and I'm sure your clients and your people who've kind of been impacted by you would have benefited tremendously from you. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. we can continue this conversation for the next many hours, but unfortunately, we have a time limit. And at this stage, I'd like to thank you for joining us. And you are, in a certain sense, part of the TIE family. Having been the president of the DC chapter earlier, and you've been actively engaged with TIE. So thank you very much for joining us at the TIE Global Summit. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to us at this moment would have taken a few lessons and certainly taken the energy, even in a virtual environment. I'm sure the energy transmitted through those the lines and the computers, and it reached a lot of people through their screens. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for spreading so much joy and such a wonderful work that you're doing. We really appreciate your joining us today, Sheila.
It's been a pleasure. It's an honor. And I want to thank TIE Global and each of you, and certainly to Manohar Reddy Garu for this wonderful opportunity and continued success for an incredible TIE Global Summit. And I'm honored and delighted to have been included as part of this amazing panel. Have a wonderful day. And if we don't get to speak to all of you, happy holidays and best wishes for the coming new year as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you.